I might be cooked though, like, bro, oh my days.
Is this it is? Oh,
Yeah, I'm gone. Just like that, I'm gone.
ah.
I might actually be the GOAT. After spending over 30 hours carrying my friends in Peak, I finally decided it was time to carry myself. If you've never played Peak before, the goal is simple. Climb the mountain and make it to the top. The problem is that almost everything you do drains the same stamina bar. Climbing, falling, starving, even taking damage. Which means every decision matters. So I immediately grabbed every useful item I could find, including a trumpet, because obviously that's essential survival equipment. For food, my best option at the time was to pick up some coconuts, even though they were pretty heavy. I was lucky enough to find a balloon, and I thought that by popping it, it would reduce my weight, but apparently I was wrong. I looted some suitcases nearby and put everything into my backpack. And so I was finally ready to start climbing to the peak. If you've been paying attention to my stamina bar, you've probably noticed that I'm carrying way too much weight, and that quickly came back to bite me. Luckily, I was also starting to get hungry, so I just ate one of the coconuts I had in my backpack, only to realize I was going the complete opposite way. After falling again, I decided that instead of fixing my weight problem, I should simply drink an energy drink. And right when I was trying to jump, it ran out. Most of the items you find are consumables. Some restore your hunger, some heal you, and others give some sketchy side effects. I finally gave in to my stubbornness and got rid of the extra weight I was carrying. With that out of the way, the rest of the climb was a breeze. And with that, I reached my first campfire. If you don't know, you have a campfire at the end of every mountain where you get loot, food, and here you also find an ancient statue which can be used to revive your teammates, which I don't have any teammates, and in case everyone's alive, you receive an ancient rarity item. These are usually very overpowered. Since the routes are a way more challenging area than the coast, I had to throw away any unnecessary weight, including my precious trumpet. The next two biomes are the most dangerous ones, each one of them having their own hazards like wind or storms. At first, I tried to find a safe way through, but no matter where I looked, every road seemed to end the same way. Eventually, I realized I'd have to take a risk. I was completely lost and couldn't find a good route, therefore I decided to improvise. My plan worked and I managed to grab a fungus on the way as a bonus. This beetle tried to jump me, so I broke his ankles. He really thought that was gonna work. I somehow managed to make my shell fungus completely useless, switched to another route, and failed so badly that I genuinely thought my run was over. Turns out, the mountain wasn't done with me just yet. Bro, that actually caught me off guard. Luckily, my 30 hours of peak paid off and I could react fast enough. Right after that, as if the game wanted to apologize, it blessed me with a medicinal carrot which cures your illness. Bro, what the... Apology not accepted. Oh shit, where your ass going? I got lucky to find an energy drink, and thanks to that, I managed to use some pro movement and outrun the zombie. And boom, the threat was effectively nullified. A leap of fate! After all of this rushing around, I feel like I deserved some loot, so I obviously went to open the boxes right in front of me and proceeded to also use the gadgets I found there to prepare an extremely good route. At least, I thought so. By the way, the wind pushed me into an explosive plant right next to me. The exact moment I jumped. Right from the moment when I set up this rope to the moment I started climbing it, this is where my IQ just left the server. Alright, if by this point you're not convinced that I'm the GOAT, and that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. With my stamina hitting 0, I had to make a decision, fast. So I left almost everything behind and kept climbing. This is where depression started kicking in. At this point, I wasn't even climbing anymore, I was just trying to survive, even if it meant eating poisonous food. Then, the game gave me another medicinal carrot. What the fuck? Yeah, apparently not. I see the light. I never expected climbing alone to feel this different. Somewhere in the roots, I stopped worrying about the summit and started wishing someone else was there. And with that, I finally left the roots, reaching the second campfire. And this time, I didn't forget about the ancient statue. I eventually gave in to the loneliness and hopped on a call with my friends just to hear some human voices. But the climb was still completely mine. For a second, I genuinely considered attempting the most ridiculous jump imaginable. Thankfully, the few functioning brain cells I had left talked me out of it. I'm not going for that. I also sacrificed my last piece of food just to pick up another shell fungus, which, just like every other one I'd found, would end up being completely useless. Magic bean! Then, I found one of the rarest items in the game, and immediately threw it on the floor. Whatever. The fog rises. I better get going. What is this? Tempestade não. I'm about to die. Yeah, I'm gone. Just like that, I'm gone. Oh meu Deus! This was the closest I'd come to freezing to death. I'll run. Loot! O loot tá out of my route. I need this. Não há comida! The winner takes it all. Loot! At this point, I was so desperate for food that I'd abandoned my route for almost any loot. Apparently, you don't even need to touch those things. I found a weird geyser that I had never seen before, but since I didn't know what it did and I was scared, I just left. After staring at the mountain for way too long, I finally came up with a plan. Okay. Oh no. But it wasn't a very good plan. I used a heat pack and decided a different plan. This was definitely my worst plan ever since it almost ended my run. With almost no food left and nowhere else to go, I finally used the Pandora's lunchbox I've been saving all this time. And somehow, it actually saved my run. After all this commotion, I had to go down almost everything I had climbed. I might be cooked though, like, not even gonna lie. With this new approach, maybe I could finally end this nightmare.
Please, please.
Well, it worked.
I see the light. I see the light.
By this point, you'd think I'd have learned my lesson about shell fungus. Is it worth it? Apparently not.
It is, it is. Fa, fa, fa. Ah! Oh.
Against all odds, I'd made it through the Alpines. Compared to everything I'd just been through, the caldera almost felt peaceful. There weren't any dangerous creatures left. The hardest part now was simply finding the right path. And the only thing I had to be careful with was basically not to try anything risky while the lava was up. Before leaving, I made one last stop to grab my well-deserved loot around the ancient statue. While making my way to the last campfire, all that I could think of was that this was my last chance to prepare and rest before the final climb. At this point, there was no reason to keep saving anything anymore, so why not twice? Thankfully, I'd saved the lantern earlier that cured buff effects instantly. Its job was done. Now came the hardest part of the kill. Finding a route that wouldn't get me killed. That was closer than I'd like to admit. By this point, I'd stopped rushing. Every decision mattered. One mistake, and 8 in-game days would be over. Then, the game finally rewarded me. Scout cookies. Probably the best food you can ask for before the final climb. So I did what any sane person would do. I consumed absolutely everything. The backpack had carried me all the way here, but I didn't need it anymore. I was so close, and somehow this felt like the hardest decision of the entire climb. This was it. Eight in-game days, but I finally made it. Before leaving, I grabbed one last collectible. There was only one thing left to do. For the first time all run, I wasn't thinking about surviving anymore. I was just waiting. And just like that, it was over. I had peaked, with no one by my side.